Hello, YouTubes. Today we are going to be making, I'm going to be making, and if you watch, I guess we will be making some baby back spare ribs. This is going to be my second barbecue video. The first one I haven't posted yet, and that was a while back, so I don't know if I'm gonna. Yeah, it was a little rough. Okay, we'll just call it a little rough. So I'm gonna start out by showing you my equipment, my smoker, how I go about doing things. Then we'll go to seasoning the ribs, the method that I use to cook the ribs, and times, temperatures, all those types of things. There's a lot of people that do this kind of thing on the internet, but I don't think there's, I'm not sure how many people do it as Frankenstein as I do it. So I know there's a bunch of people out there in the world that don't want to spend a lot of money and have a bunch of junk equipment. And even though they're, cooks, but let's be honest, man, cooks don't make a lot of money unless you get into the right place. So on a cook's pay, you have to be a little bit creative on how you pull some stuff off. So this is going to be a little bit of an experiment and a little bit of a tutorial, and maybe how you can piece yourself together a mess of stuff and actually turn out something that's worth eating. Well, okay. So this is my monster. It is a Brinkmann Trailer Master, which they don't make anymore. I'm not sure if I think Brinkmann went out of business. But this is the vertical version of the Trailer Master. It's an offset smoker. It's a cheap one. The metal's relatively thin. It's not the thinnest metal. It's not like a char griller or something, but it's definitely not a 1/4 inch thick or even close to that. It doesn't maintain heat well. So I've done some things to kind of mitigate that. I've got a fire basket in there that I made out of expanded metal. Went and picked it up from Home Depot, and then cut it with a grinder, and then bent it into the shape of a basket and tweaked it all together. I'm not entirely sure if you can see how that's put together, but it's just kind of bent around and wrapped into a basket that would fit through that door. So the way we're going to run this smoker is we're going to use it like we would a barrel cooker or a Weber Smoky Mountain, where I've got a mass of fuel, and I'm going to light one corner of it, and we're going to encourage that heat and that fire to creep across this basket in such a way that it's going to produce clean smoke, and it'll give me a long burn. Somewhere in the process of this cook, I'll start adding pieces of wood. And that's basically going to be to kind of keep my heat up. Maybe by the time I do that, I'll already be done with the smoking part of it, where I'm wanting the smoke to get on the meat, and I'll be just putting that wood in there to maintain temperature. So if I get a little bit of smoke, I'm not going to freak out over it. The meat will be wrapped and be protected from all that dirty smoke. To control the airflow through the smoker, I'm going to use an Auber Industries thermostatic fan controller for barbecues. A stoker, basically, is what that is. If you're familiar with the Guru, it's way cheaper. It's got a little computer fan on there that puts air into the smoker. And it's got a wire. You can see that creeping around the back through the back door. That's got a temperature control on that. And it'll build heat in the cooker up until the targeted temperature, and then it'll stop the fan, and it'll keep it around that temperature. And there's my thermostat. I have another thermometer in there for my iGrill, my little Wi-Fi thermometer, and I have a small amount of charcoal in a starter sitting over here, and I'm gonna take that. Let's do that now. And I'm gonna dump it right in the corner of my fire basket. All in one spot, right in the front. Good to go. I'm gonna shut the lid. I'm gonna grab that power cord, plug it into the stoker. And it hasn't turned on. What? Oh, it flinched. There it goes, we're on now. See what I'm talking about? I'm a little bit Frankenstein, baby. We're Frankenstein, that's all. And I'm gonna raise the temperature. I have it at 240 right there. I'm gonna go even higher today. We're doing some baby back ribs, and I think a little higher temperatures isn't a bad idea. That fan just kicked on. Gotta make sure it's positioned well so it's not leaking. And while we're heating up, I'll be able to watch that on the phone through the iGrill thermometer. You can already see that a little bit of dirty smoke's coming through the top. And we're gonna let that run until I hit my target temperature and that smoke starts to burn clean. I'm gonna run inside, I'm gonna get the ribs out of the fridge, and we're gonna season them up and let them sit for a minute while everything does its thing out here. See you in just a second. Okay, there they are. We're gonna do a couple of racks. I have removed the membrane, and these ribs were very long. I mean, they went well over the edge of this tray, but I took them and scrunched them all up together so they're nice and fat, kind of pushed in. So the first thing I'm gonna do is put down a little bit of salt. And you can use Lori's seasoning salt. I'm gonna use a little bit of Lori's garlic salt. It's just kind of the thing to do to get a little bit of salt right on at the beginning of this. Oh, and rub it down with a tiny little bit of oil. Don't forget that. You can use anything as a binder. Mustard. People use all kinds of goofy stuff. I think oil is the way to go. I think oil is, you know, doesn't add anything to anything. It kind of like fries that spice at a very low temperature. I prefer it. I think oil is a much cleaner way to go. After that, I'm going to put on some rub. We got this Sweet Rub-O-Mine. I've never tried it before, but I saw it at the barbecue store, and I figured I'd give it a shot. I have made my own rubs. I've been very happy with that. Usually the concoction that I use is loaded full of brown sugar and chili powder and turmeric and garlic and sometimes other types of sugar. But today we're going to use this guy. I don't know. The bottle looks pretty darn cool. It looks like Slash from Guns N' Roses in pig form. So I'm going to season that up. Give me a second. I'm going to open this sucker up. I should have done it before I started recording, but we'll do it right now. So these are ribs, so I don't want to go ham on them. Ham, ribs. Like a pork butt or a brisket or something like that, I would go much heavier with the seasonings because you need to be able to season for the interior of that meat ribs are so much thinner that a lot of that exterior flavor kind of gets, you know, it gets everywhere. And I'm going lighter than, you know, than I would if I was trying to like pull off some kind of competition thing, just because I want to eat these. So I don't want to go crazy with the seasoning. I want to taste the pork. I'm not looking to punch somebody in the face with flavor like the competition guys are. Shout out to Malcolm Reed. When I was looking for his spice, they carried it at my local barbecue shop, and they don't have it now, and I'm kind of bummed out because I watch his show a lot. Look him up. His stuff is absolutely fantastic. So, now that we got these guys seasoned up really good, I'm gonna let these sit out for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes on the counter. It's gonna let that meat come up to a room temperature. So I'm not putting straight cold meat into the smoker. A lot of people say cold meat, you know, helps the smoke stick, but I don't know about that. I know you're looking for that pellicle when you're doing cold smoking for fish and things, but I'm not sure that is such a thing in this type of barbecue or this type of smoking. But I do want that bark to kind of come together, and or that seasoning to come together and kind of homogenize a bit, and it'll help promote a good exterior while it's cooking that bark, you know. So we're gonna let these guys sit, and the next thing you'll see is me taking them out to the smoker and arranging them inside the cooker. So we've been at temperature for about 20 minutes, but I'm still putting out a little bit too dark a smoke. There goes my thermostat again, the Auber. It just letting me know that we're getting up to a target temperature. It really hasn't settled in quite yet, and I imagine that's why I'm still putting out relatively thick smoke. So I'll let it run for about another 20 minutes, and hopefully we'll get something a little bit cleaner, and then I'll put those ribs. But they really look good. I had to put them bring them out in the sun for you guys to take a good look at them. Look at the color on those things. That rub sure does turn them a nice shade of red. So in about 20 minutes, we'll come back, take a peek at the smoker, see what kind of smoke we're putting out, and then put those ribs in. And then I'll decide whether or not I'm going to put any water in the pan in there. You can put a beer in there, throw some vegetables in with it. I've seen people do all kinds of crazy stuff just to add a little bit of moisture in their smoker. I used to know somebody who would throw potatoes in there during the cook and then fish them out and chop them up and serve them with their barbecue. And my goodness, were those good potatoes, especially if you're smoking fish or something. Then those potatoes end up tasting like smoky fish. They're delicious. But yeah, we'll be back in just a minute. Well, for you guys, it'll be a split second, but for me, I'm guessing it's going to be about another 20 or 30 minutes before I get the smoke looking the way that I want it to. See you in a second. I'm thinking that's pretty good to put the meat in. It's a little thick, but, you know, I've used this smoker for about 6 years now. It's, you know, part of the reason why it looks like Frankenstein's little sister. And I know it's going to really settle in and calm down in about another 15 minutes. It's been almost an hour that this thing's been going. The temperatures are starting to really level out. The smoke has cleaned up quite a bit. It still looks a little thick, but I'll take a look. I'm going to go ahead and put the meat in, and we'll come back and take a peek at this thing in about 30 minutes, and you'll see how much that smoke's changed. Okay, got them in the smoker, and what I did was I really kind of bunched them up as I was putting them in to make sure they fit across those grates well. Also makes them thicker, cooks a little better, stays a little moister. The thickest part of the rib I put towards the back of the smoker because that's where my hot spot is. And everybody should, you know, pay attention to that kind of stuff. Know your machinery or your equipment. I've lost, you know, 200 or about 55 degrees in the cooker. And I'm going to wait until that builds back up before I put the fan back on or plug the fan back in. A lot of these stokers have a program that deals with that. You push a little button, it says when you're open, you know, it'll ask you when you're opening your door, you hit the button and it'll put into the programming the ability for it to not kick the fan back on and then shoot way past your temperature. So because I don't have that as part of this device, I'm doing that manually. And in fact, you know, I might have that as part of this device. Maybe there was like a software update I don't know about. But then again, I've had this thing for about 6 years. You know, it was around, I don't know, 115 bucks. So it might, I'm not sure the price of it right now. Maybe it was a little more than that. I don't remember. But I know it was a ton cheaper than getting a Guru or a DigiQ or CyberQ or any of those things. So I think it works just as good. And if I have to unplug that fan for 10 minutes until my cooker comes back up to temperature, that's okay with me. I'm already back up to 216 degrees and my target temperature is around 250. So, you know, that's all right with me. My smoke's already cleaned up even more, and I've even opened up the door. When I plug that fan back in, it might shoot out a big cloud of ugly smoke, but as soon as that fire gets stoked back up to a proper temperature and in its own little rhythm, that'll clean up even more, and we'll be at that, you know, thin blue smoke that everybody wants. I'll poke back in to show you that, and then we'll just be waiting for about 2 hours before I decide to open up that door and take a look at it and see how that bark's set up. Maybe I'm going to spritz, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm going to baste, maybe not. We're just going to take it until that crust, that bark sets up the way I like it, and then we're going to wrap it up. See you in a sec. It has been 30 minutes, and there is my smoke. It has thinned out quite a bit and smells fantastic around here. I haven't put any more wood in the firebox. I have 2 pieces of oak sitting up there warming up. I'll move those inside the firebox before I put them on top of that coal bed that's in there. Just to really be certain that they're going to catch as soon as I've set them on that coal bed so that I don't get any dirty smoke. But with this kind of smoke right here, I should have great flavored ribs. You know, stronger than a pellet grill, but without being dirty. Crossing my fingers and hoping that this all works out well. I think it will. You know, I've done this a bunch, so I feel good. I feel good. The next thing you should be seeing is me taking a peek in here and looking at the bark to see if that bark is set, how it's formed. That should be in about an hour and a half. I'll decide then whether or not I'm going to spray or baste or moisten that bark at all. There's a bunch of different options that you can use for that. Right now I'm kind of debating on whether or not to try some pickle juice. I heard that was a thing and it sounds fantastic, and I love that contrast of pickle to barbecue, you know. So that might be, I might try that today. But yeah, that's it. We'll see you in about an hour and a half. Hopefully these things look fantastic. Okay, we're 2 hours in. Super clean smoke, no smoke. Smoky, smoky. Let's take a peek. Man, that looks good. And that bark's dry and cracking a little bit. I think I am gonna moisten that up a little bit. And I've got, yep, you guessed it, a little bit of pickle juice. I've never tried this before, but somebody told me that it was magic, so we'll give that a shot. In the background, you can hear Grandpa talking to me. I gotta make sure these things get tender, because he ain't got no teeth. I could chew them up and then just kind of like, you know, spit them back into his mouth like a bird. Regurge them. But he's over there giving me guff right now. Can you hear him? Okay. Be back in about 30 minutes. Super thin, super good. Time to take a peek. Temperature's really nice. Mid 250s. Man, that's a looking good. It's dry again. Gonna hit it again with the pickle juice. Think we'll give it another, oh, I don't know, 30 minutes, and then we'll call her ready to wrap. Man, I just want to sneak a little edge off that rack. I think it's going to be great. Okay. Oh, that's a bone right there. Man, just starting to pull back a little bit. Let's let that heat build back up before we plug that sucker back in. Get my wood nice and hot, and it is too, boy. And that's it. In about 30 minutes, I'll come back and pull these ribs out, and we're gonna wrap them up with a little concoction or whatever I can think up. And we'll let those go for a couple more hours. And I think that'll be it. Sauce them up, put them back in, tighten it all up. Bingo bango. Dinner time. See you in just a few minutes. Well, there they are. I think they look pretty good. The color looks really good. I'm gonna go take them in right now and wrap them up, and show you guys my my little whammy jammy. Give me just 1 second, and we'll take them inside. Okay, everybody, here comes the wrap. So I don't have anything set in stone. I'm just gonna do some stuff. I've tried all the, the crazy stuff, the Johnny Triggs Parquet, Tiger Sauce, you name it. I've tried it. And I don't have anything that's, I like better than the other. I think it's a combination of everything. So today I'm going to use, for my fat component, a little bit of butter and a little bit of bacon grease left over from breakfast, believe it or not. Then we'll take a little bit of brown sugar. A little bit of honey. little bit more rub. And that's going to be my concoction for today. I'm going to take that slab of ribs, pretty, and put that meat side down in the stuff. And if I was doing, you know, some type of competition stuff, I'd go through and pick all the little burnt stuff off the bones and whatever. So this is just for us. So I'm going to wrap it around a few times. Making sure that the meat stays at the bottom. And then try to curl those edges up best I can so nothing leaks out. Boy, I should have got the bigger foil, because this is barely going to make it. So that's nice and tight, and I'm going to put another piece of foil this away just to make sure nothing's going to leak out and I have a nice tight seal. And then we're going to go back in the smoker, and I'll start checking it in about, hour and a half. See how much pullback I get, and start poking between the bones with a wooden skewer or my thermometer until I like how tender it is. So that's one done. And I'll save you the boringness of doing another in front of the camera. But that's it. Didn't do anything on the back. Okay, so these guys are wrapped. Smoke's still good, but don't really care about that now. And we're gonna go back into the smoker for about an hour and a half. I'll start checking them in an hour and a half. Try to figure out where that, that big side is, and put that towards the back. And put these babies to bed. Call them good. And I'll be seeing you guys in about an hour and a half. We'll unwrap them and see what we got. Okay. We're looking at the ribs. I just pulled them off. They did not feel like they were done. I mean, they didn't feel bendy in the foil. And that's supposed to be kind of a tell. So I don't know. I'm thinking they might need to stay in there another 20 minutes, but we'll give them a peek. That looks kind of magical. I'm not seeing like the pullback on the bones everybody talks about, but whoa. Man, that feels... No. Right, you're supposed to be able to rip a bone out. So I'm going to go back. I mean, that's darn pretty. But I'm going to go back in and we'll wrap these back up and we'll let them go for another 20 minutes. And that's going to have to be it. Okay, see you in 20. Oh, and just so you guys don't think I'm doing this just for YouTubes, for the tubes, here's one of the side dishes. Just some sweet potatoes that I threw in the oven and baked them up. Put a couple spoons of brown sugar in there, a little pinch of mace, a big fat pinch of salt, and a little bit of butter. And I'm just gonna break those up into like a rough mash. A little bit of marshmallow. My wife will like that. And then we're gonna go back in the oven. Toast those up. And I got some corn. And we're good to go. Be right back with the ribs. Okay, here we go. Take a peek at these dudes. This is like a little life lesson. Do not buy the cheap tin foil. You know, spend the money and get the good tin foil. Get the good tin foil, get the good meat, get the cheap smoker. I mean, unless you can afford a good smoker, and then get the good smoker. Get them all covered up good. And then I'm gonna hit them with the rub a little bit. One more time. As I tasted that rub, and it's pretty fly. Like, that's a pretty good rub. Better than my rub? No, but that's because they got like smoke and some other crud in it. I could smell the celery seed in it, and I don't like that. But, you know, hit it with the rub one more time. And then these are going back on the smoker for about 10 minutes. And then it'll be time to eat. We got some corn and some mashed sweet potatoes with a little bit of stuff in them. We'll be good to go. See you guys in a second. Okay, here we go. So, they feel pretty good. This rack feels better than this rack. This one feels a little softer. It's still holding together really nice. I'm still picking up this big celery seed smell, and I think that's from the rub. But I still think it's going to be okay. So let's cut into one of these dudes and see what we get. Okay, I'm going to do 2 boners. Come on. I'm gonna take a peek and see how that smoke ring is. It's hard to see it. Usually I have a smoke ring half an inch thick around everything. Oh, it looks a lot like that, right? Look at that. Gravy. That looks pretty good. I'm not entirely sure why I don't have it on both ends, but and why I can't get around those bones. Maybe it's just so much smoking that it's all the way through the entire rib. I do not know. But there she is. And that's it. I suppose I should take a bite, right? We'll grab one of these inside ones. Take a look at that. Let's give her a go. Ooh. That's pretty good. If I had to, I think it should probably stay on the grill, or on the smoker rather, for, oh, I don't know, maybe another 20 minutes would have done it. Just a tiny bit. Tough, tug off the bone, not so much fall off the bone, which, you know, they say that people like that, but for me, I like it soft. Boy, the flavor goes right through that sucker though. Ooh, that's good. Okay. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you next time.